especially because of my friend Onesimus's slave or whatever. Sorry, the master, Philemon. Let's talk about what could he have done that could have made that thing succeed. That's our subject today. Because not every change succeeds. And so it's very important that we actually discuss that. And if we get time, we shall go back. I wanted to spend time on Wilberforce, but because the notes will be presented to you, the change Wilberforce had was when he read the scriptures. He got saved after university. When he read the scriptures, slavery and slave trade was not biblical at all. Yet Britain was claiming to be a Christian country. So it's very clear to him that if society will be Christian, they must abandon slave trade. Just so that you understand how difficult that change was going to be. The after thing was a time when there will be no slaves throughout the world. It is like today in Kenya, deciding to ban house girls. That nobody will ever be allowed to employ house girls. Because already the ladies are looking at me. Now, of course, if you are my age, it's not a big deal. But if you are somebody below 45, it's a serious issue. That's exactly what he was saying. Because Britain existed because of slaves. They were doing everything. How can you say they ban it? He started in his 20s. The law was finally changed when he was over 60 years. Yes. You did history, isn't it? Yes. Just go and Google. Yeah. He would go 5 years. He goes 5 years, nothing changes. Another 5 years, nothing changes. Another 5 years, nothing changes. The good thing is the Lord allowed him, despite people hating him, he was re-elected. Sometimes very narrowly for the whole time. And before he died, slave trade was banned. That's a big change, isn't it? Yes. Now, I don't know what change you are thinking about. And something looks impossible. May Wilberforce encourage you to think about it. For you to really get the things changed, attributes of a change leader, number one, there must be courage. Because even to suggest, you are embarrassed, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Saida was saying, how do I tell them? They might think I'm whatever, but my revival guy is even had a time. They might think I am mad. Are you getting the point? Mm-hmm. Although what he meant by they will think he's mad, it's not because of praying. It's because of praying loudly. He was reading the word loudly. It's not that the others were not praying, but they were not praying loudly. So he felt in a Pentecostal church. How come you're not praying loudly? And what will bring the change? But the trouble is, people will think he is mad. So you need courage. Number two, or maybe I first of all got to do, you need fairness. The leader must be seen as impartial and fair. If people don't think you are fair, they'll say, why is he changing? It is so that his girlfriend can get promotion. No wonder he wants to change. People always look for a reason in order to fight your change. And the reason they first of all find is you. They think there is, pastor, we know him. We know he wants to remove the junior pastor so that he can replace him with his uncle. Yeah. But if you are consistently fair, and they have seen you to be somebody who always acts fair, then although they are not sure why you are doing what you are doing, they will not start thinking there is some hidden agenda. Am I communicating? Yes. Remember we say change starts with you. We are talking about you to bring change. You need to develop to where people know you are fair, and that is important. Then justice. In the process, of leading change, a leader has to ensure that his or her actions are just. People must see that there is fairness and not, but it's very similar to fairness, but justice. Then caring. Then humility. And several people, I think Saida has mentioned the issue of humility. And people perseverance. My Congolese friend may have lacked perseverance. But that does not laugh at him. Many of us do not even start because we can't see ourselves succeeding, isn't it? You require, change can take time. One of the critical things I've talked about William Wilberforce is the issue of perseverance. How do you say the same thing? You know, the first time he started talking about it, people just laughed. Parliament just laughed him out. So is he a fool? He must be mad. How can you say something like that? So I think perseverance is, if you really are going to lead change, it will be important that you... Let me tell you, the way we are talking and all the examples you gave were all corporate. Are we together? I did not hear anybody give a personal change. Because the first change you need to lead is changing yourself. Maybe you keep going to work late. Have you understood why you are always late? You need to do a change plan on how to start arriving on time.
Even the church.
And it is you that's a problem. Maybe you quarrel with your husband regularly, permanently, and you are likely to quarrel until you have pension. Now, my friend, you need to ask, I know my husband is bad, but what can I do if not to eliminate quarreling, to reduce it? It takes two to quarrel, isn't it? If he quarrels alone, he'll get tired and stop, isn't it? The reason why the quarrel continues is because I reply. I participate in it. By communicating. So you need to have a plan, not about how to change your husband, how to change yourself. And I can tell you, many people are enjoying marriage later than they enjoyed originally, because somewhere along the way, they had a change plan. They stopped trying to change others and started changing themselves. So personal change is very, very important. There's also an issue of your career is not developing. You are not moving. But the problem is not others. It is you. So I want to encourage you, out of this course, to just ask yourself, in which ways do I need to change? The next one is family. You know, when 844 started, our children were in school then. And, we moved from the old system to a new system, and I think there were 10 subjects. Children used to carry books like they are going on a journey. By the way, when I say children, it is you people here. People around 45, thereabouts. You are the people who went to 844. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, carrying books. Along the way, they had to reduce them to 8. Am I right? Yeah, because it was, but that initial one. I still remember meeting a family, and they asked, Mrs. Nganga and Mr. Nganga, do you have family altar? I said, yes. Why not? How can you do it with 844? It had never occurred to us that we sacrifice praying and studying the Bible together as a family in order to finish homework. Our children knew it is not under discussion. Commitment to a time of Bible study and reading God's word daily is not optional. It's not negotiable. Yes. So what they would do is, because my argument was, if you can eat food, you can also eat God's word. So the idea is, Papa, why don't you finish quickly? Let's read the Bible. I've not finished my homework. They're not saying, may I go? They are saying, finish eating. Now, my friend is, there is something between my wife and I that made us commit to that thing so that for us everything fitted in. If you don't deal with it, you just find that there is no time for family altar in your family. And you have very good reasons, which the main reason, of course, is laziness. But lack of wisdom is a separate issue. Are we together? What is it that's not happening in your family? And it's because you need a change project. To change your family. Then there's community. I'm talking about your neighborhood. You know, in 1970s, the latest, we never heard of background proving. I was living in Buruburu in 1970s. You know, the way they built the Buruburu houses, there used to be some roofers. You just did like that, you could enter. There are not thieves. Until 80s came. And they meant how to open it, and you come in the evening, things have disappeared. So we had to background proof. You remember? Those were older. Now these days, even if a fire starts, you just burn with your fire there because nobody can come from outside. You have locked yourself inside and ensured outsiders cannot enter to save you. In the name of keeping things away. I'm getting my job. So it's important to understand it came because of that. Now, do you know people finally discovered the best thing is creates code security teams. Are we together? And that way we were able to keep things away. That requires a change, but now not personal, not family, but community. And then, of course, this example you have. But some changes are national. Like the new constitution, isn't it? It required a lot of change. One of the, I think, a big change that came with the new constitution is the fact that however good you are, you must live after 10 years. Like Kibaki did a lot of good work, isn't it?
Yes.
But after 10 years, he went. Now, when it's a bad one, you want him to leave. When it's a good one, they always talk about how to change the constitution for the guy to last. Remember Uhuru, they kept debating how he's too young to live. Remember? So you can see that's a change, a societal change. We need to find out what needs to change in Kenya, and by the person who will lead that change sitting in this class.
Amen.
Am I communicating?
Amen.
Yeah, so you need to think about, for that to happen, I'm back to my introduction, you require a dreamer. Change leaders are dreamers. They always see out there what could happen, although it's not happening now. And then we now can work on how to ensure the change actually happens.
It's refused to change.
Yeah, it's resisting change. Okay, finally they are good. So, why would you need to change? That's important. Change for the sake of change? Yes, some people just change. Why did you change? You come and find your wife has moved the table to another direction. Why did you change it? I didn't like it. And now where she has put the table is normally where you pass. Now it's making you inconvenient. And you ask her, why did you change? Now, so I really want to kill that idea. Change is so expensive, you must have clarity of the benefit at the end. So it's not enough to say I like it. To improve competitive position, that's important. If you are I know churches are not in competition, but if you continue behaving in a certain way, all your youth will keep living. They wait until they are 15 years, they go. Does that happen in some churches?
Yeah.
And they insist, no. You know, the way we run our church is the way Paul and Silas were running it. Nothing must change. And the youth people vote with their legs. So you need to ask yourself, what is it we are doing that is causing people to leave church and go to our neighboring church? To make needed improvement. In other words, it's not that you are losing anything, but you are not as effective and as efficient as you should be. So you need to ask yourself, are you really efficient? Now, what can you do that will make you more efficient? Improvements. But the next thing is, you are operating at a certain level. Surely you can see yourself operating at a higher level. I told you I come from Sitam Barrow. When we started, we are called NPC, Nairobi Pentecostal Church. the intention of the founders would never be out of Nairobi. Because it was such an English-speaking church of Wazungus, and there are not too many anyway. So we stayed like that until we got into a new vision that if people like to come here, and Barry Road was then having 3 services. You started take that by 2 o'clock we are still there. Because and the church is more than 4,000 seater. You finish, another one, 70 minutes. There's something people want to get here. Why can't we take it elsewhere? And that's how we went to Woodley. Then we went to Karen. Then we went to Kisumu. As you remember preaching in Kisumu, the church was called NPC Kisumu, which is a joke. How can you Nairobi Pentecostal church be called Kisumu? That's how the name now didn't make sense. Because the vision had changed. We're operating at a national level rather than one location. So we just remembered ours. Most people did not even remember our name NPC. They just said the church where there is a signboard called Christ is the answer. That's how CITAM came in. Now, so you need to understand, you require, and we actually wrote a strategic plan in order to change to the new, because a totally different thing. It calls for new things, new people, new resources. So, my friend, if you are really going to operate at a higher level, you can't do so with your current systems. You must bring a change that will bring you to a level where you can operate either bigger or multiple campuses, whatever, but require thinking. Don't just expect it to happen. But number 5, we talk about the church Philemon is involved in. It needs to change. Why? Last point. It needs to change. Why? Survival. If it doesn't, now it's at 20, it will soon be at 0. No, it's not 0. The pastor will be there, so 1.
The wife.
And the wife 2. So I think it's very important to understand. Sometimes you need to change if you are going to survive. And that will be important. What skills do you require? Again, you answered that. But one is problem solving. By trying to do something that has never been done by your group, you are creating problems, isn't it? So, especially the coalition must have people who are good at problem solving. Then people that are good at decision making, they resolve and they have discernment. Because sometimes there are people who make decisions 3 years later. Now, I'm getting the joke. Yeah, there is a time for a decision, and if you are not good at making a decision, my friend called it stamping, putting your foot in it. What do you call it? Stamping your foot. You make a decision, bite the bullet, they say. There will be consequences, and some of them may make you fired, but you make the decision. Are we together? Because every decision brings a risk. Be ready for the risk. Creativity. Because now, since it's not something you have done before, you require creativity to imagine. You need not just to imagine where you will be, what are going to be the barriers? How can you deal with those barriers? What is the process? All that requires creativity. And of course, you require innovation. What can make you fail to achieve the desired change? Now we're answering Philemon's question. Number 1, attempting too much too soon. The way I saw that refinery, but it's a refinery connected with the distribution depot. So I was not talking about the refinery itself, I was talking about the distribution depot. But the way I saw it, it must come to Kenya now. We want ERP in 2 months. It will fail. Are we together? The reason it's failing, you are attempting too much too soon. That's why you need people who can advise you. Let's do this in 3 years. I really liked, where is my friend, the chairman of the school? Yeah. Can you imagine? The issue is, this is Kayore. Or is it Komaroka or Kayore? Kayore. Where can we get money? Parents can't afford. Solution. Ask them for only 200 shillings. But 200 shillings cannot build a perimeter wall. Don't worry. It will take us 3 years. 200 every term. That is 600 per year. Are we together? Times 3,000. Can you see how much money it is? 3,000 children. Now that was a solution where you can see very clearly. You have attempted, yes, and you have seen the challenges and you have passed it on. That idea of building just what can be afforded, let it go on for as long as required, and the change will finally come. Like CITAM wants to have a church in every county headquarters. Those are 47, isn't it? The trouble is to decide that you can do that in 2 years. But if you give it time, one day it will happen, isn't it? Yeah, so you need clarity of where you want to go, but don't try to go there too soon. Otherwise, the whole thing, even the good you could have gotten, you will miss it. Then estimating the price of change. You're easy. We've asked you, these parents, 1,000 they will pay. I saw one driving. How many of others are driving? That's not assessing right. The whole thing will fail, and it's not failing because the vision is wrong, not failing because you should not be going there, but because you had estimated the price of change. Lack of support and training for change leaders. Yes, you are going to be leading the new Sunday school. You don't even understand what the pastor is talking about. And you are the leader. Is that project going to pass? No. Lack of adequate coaching during change, declaring victory too soon. Tumeweza. Now, once people feel they have achieved, their efforts will lapse. Am I right?
Yes.
And yet the project is not yet over. And lack of ownership of change or the change process. Who is the owner of the change? Is it our change or the pastor's change? Or the Sunday school superintendent's change? You need to where everybody thinks they own it up. Incompetence and committed leadership. Now, if you are incompetent, that's a different thing. You simply you are a visionary with a clear thing, but you are not competent. And that can be a problem. But there's another problem of uncommitted. Are you really willing to pay? As a leader, you pay a heavy price. Are you willing to pay the heavy price? Are you committed to it? And then fear of the unknown. That will stop you. Because where you are going, you have never been. So if you don't like new things, well, better where I am. And so we end up with a problem. Direct organizational identity. When we become national, how are we going to look like? And you realize, I'm so proud of who we are today, I don't like who we will be then. That will bring a problem of commitment. Am I right? So because you don't like. So you have to convince the people in order to start liking the new identity. Existing bureaucracy prices effort of national politics. That's even in church, the organizational politics, isn't it? Division of power threatened by change. Lack of trust in the organization, lack of teamwork. I know you talked about that earlier. Arrogant attitude. Deny change needed. Lack of leadership. Human fear of the unknown. We talked about it a little earlier. And those are all very, very important things. Any question that far?
I had asked a question earlier.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
You asked me about the process which I have done.
Yeah.
So do I still keep on waiting?
I wanted to ask you a question. Which particular item in the 8 do you feel could come earlier? The answer to your question is the process is well considered. If you try to do something earlier than the other, like example, you bring a collection of leaders, and you yourself are not very clear what you want to tell them. You can see they will just say, please go and swim better. So there's the process. The process is not done. Things need to follow that flow. But some things you could do, and when you're in the next thing, you realize you should have done better. So you go back to do it. But you must have thought through the process.
So can it happen It sounds to me like the proposal you're making, it's organic call. It's organic.
It's organic.
Okay.
It's the way you grow into the system. And the reason why we are going through the 8 steps is because a lot of people don't want to have a process. They want to harvest before planting, or they want to harvest before weeding. There'll be a problem with the harvest, isn't it? So really, that's why the answer to your question, yes, you need, and you need to see that. You need to see the eight, any item. If you bring it earlier, you'll not be quite ready yet. Like the first 4 items, you have not done any change. It's all preparation of change. But if you have a different opinion, just suggest.
No, I've heard you. I needed to hear that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Dan. My question is about.
I'm happier with Brother Nganga. Because I used to be an elder. I retired. The truth of the matter is, if you go to Sitam, I have no title. So they will start asking, but I thought you retired. Why do you got an elder? So in order to avoid that embarrassment, call me.
Well, church.
So that one is mine.
Emeritus.
Not just trying to look for a title. Because emeritus means you are not a pastor. But go on. Brother Nganga.
My question is how to overcome challenges of bringing change when you are not the top leader. I have suggested, you see, and like yesterday.
Please hold it, and we go through the items.
Oh.
Because that's what we are just about to do. So if you don't mind, that first step is called inspiration. Inspiring and enlisting others to change and creating a sense of urgency. And it's a very, very important thing. So, whether you are talking about you are below or above, the people you are talking to, you need some level of charisma that causes them to trust what you are saying is not nonsense. Are we together? But I have 3 suggestions when you come up with an idea and you are not the father of the family. You are just one of the sons. 3 systems. Number 1, think harder. Don't just jump on your father. Think clearly from your angle. Then ask yourself, how would my father buy into this thing? What is it in this change that will serve him personally? Are we together? So that you are thinking of that before going there. You think about it. Think about clearly and think not from your perspective, but from the leader's perspective. Number 2, ask, is there somebody else whom he listens to better? You know, some women even know that there's a daughter the man of the house listens to. So when the children become adults. Are we together? Mm-hmm. So instead of pushing yourself as a wife, just convince your daughter. While the idea has come from the daughter. Say that again. What did you mean? Have you talked to your mother? She is also okay with it. Let's go. Your strategy was such that whereas he can say no to you, but there's a person he listens. And you know everybody has that kind of people. So you go to them so that the same idea will come. Of course, if you really are after fame, you can't win. But what you are after is not to be famous. Not to be said you are the one who came up with the idea, but to see the group get the benefit. Because you see, your daughter will say she's the one who suggested. You'll not be able to say, but you know it is really me. No, you go. Thirdly, we are still trying to bring change, inspiring change, and we are not the leader of the group. We are suggesting that for that to happen, you can start with the several people who are not one to go, but a bigger group. Like if you have a management team, let everybody else agree. Only one is missing, the leader. Once you have gotten everybody in, by the time you suggest it, then another manager said, yes, by the way, we are too late. We should have done. Your guy is only listening. If only you had suggested to have been viewed. But because others are supporting the idea, it will be accepted. Now, not one person, but a group that are in agreement. Does that make sense?
Yes. What will become like incitation?
Or organizational politics.
Remember, we need to come out clear that what you are getting is not a personal gain. It's for the good. In other words, the leader is the one who will benefit the most. Because you'll be thought to be doing something very good, isn't it? So, as long as he can see it is him benefiting, not you, it will not be called incitement. Incitement is when you want to do wrong, you want to make it unsafe for the leader. Isn't that why you use the word incitement? You don't incite for the good of the leader, you incite for their ego, isn't it? So that's why it started by the idea must not be for personal gain, it must be for the group gain. And so that this is a very, very important thing. So please first step. The second one, you are just discussing an idea. Now give yourself a research time. And this research is a big thing. Confirm the exact state of affairs, scientifically, objectively. Research must investigate the probable causes and must explore the probable solutions. So you are now doing an academic exercise. Are we together? But some people want to jump from an idea in their head to actually starting to change without this research. Now you can see why I'm insisting. If you jump the step, they will bring you trails. You need to come out clear. The only thing is you can be at an inspiring level, come back to research, then change something about something. Because of the research you have, you go back to number one. But you still must start with number one before going to number two. And so many projects fail because there was no proper research. Let's first of all do number 3. So 3 says community of change leaders. And I've kept talking about that, isn't it? Look for early adapters in your group and find a way, like if you have 10 children, find children who easily adapt. There are people who resist change. Talk to them about the new idea before bringing it to the whole family. By the way, the other example I gave is a bad example. If a wife cannot talk to you and has to go through the daughter, you are dysfunctional. You are not a biblical family. Am I communicating? Because that child is not part of your marriage. Children are visitors. Only the visit is very long, 20 years. But they are still going to live. After they have left, how will you be left with a woman you cannot talk to? Or a man you cannot talk to? So please don't take that I gave you an example to follow. Unless you have a dysfunctional family. But it's important to understand the importance of this collision. If you jump to the whole group, you will be fought to the nail. Why don't you first of all go to a small group so it stops now being your idea, become the group's idea. So people who don't like you, but they like Wanjiru, they'll start. If it was Kamau, I would have refused. But Wanjiru, she's normally sensible. So you need a collation. Can you see the value of this collation? Yeah. And it takes time to get them to all agree. Then, with the research you have done, and now that you have a group, you can design the process. This is the vision design for change. Address purpose of change. At this level, you write a paper that everybody can follow. Why are you changing? What does the finished product look like? Vision means a completed thing. You must describe so well the end product that everybody will want to have it. I keep telling people vision is like they do in architecture. So far you have not even bought land in Gom. But one day you hope to have your own house. So, if you really want your family to be willing to sacrifice, get an architect to draw a house in Gong. You haven't even bought a plot. And draw a 3D. You know, you can see children running in the house. Bring it to your family and say, this is the house you want to go to.
Yes.
Children say, Papa, when? We can't go. Why? We don't have money. But if we could stop eating sausages, eat eggs only three times in a year, we are likely to be there in 3 years.
Wow. Everybody will stop.
My friend, children are saying, will you go there, Papa? Yes. No sausages. No, I like to keep quiet. They are fighting to ensure. Because once the vision is clear, they are committed to sacrifice to get it. Are we together?
Yes.
So it's very, very important that you design the vision such that people can see. Not just from your perspective. Everybody must see what is in it for me. Are we together? Sunday school, how will it benefit? Women ministry, how will it benefit? What about exposition of the Bible? How does it look like? It must be well stated. So you are able to clarify where we are going, what will success look like. Then that way you motivate and inspire a buy-in. I told you what buy-in stands for. Inspire behavior change, define specific areas that need to change, define clear target to work towards. That stage is very, very important. So that you are not talking, but I think could. You must now talk like you really know where you want people to be going. Now, number 5, now that it's clear where you are going, you are clear what the challenges are, you now can have a strategy. Are we together? That this thing cannot be done in 2 years. We'll achieve it in 5 years. But we can build this wall so many meters per semester. And then you are able to you are now starting to help the people to gain the capacity. Critical resources needed to affect change. Barriers to change must be eliminated. For example, if you want ERP, a lot of training is concerned, isn't it? Yes. Yeah. Paperless society. When people have always been using papers, isn't it? Yeah. When we did that in Shell, a few people who are over 50 just retired. I just said, surely, at my age. I'm going back to school for what? And it's a whole manager, you're asking to go to run IT. Yeah. Leave it to younger people. So it's important to understand you can't achieve it without capacity improvement. And you must be clear what are likely barriers and what will you do. What resources do you require to overcome them? Then now number 7, after all the 6, now you have a strategic plan for that particular change. You have a strategic plan. So, you now want to roll it out. It's called execution or implementation. Number 1, communicate for change. You need everybody now to come into it. So you communicate. That is the first step. And we can talk about change. Message must be simple and compelling. Use stories a lot. And I could go on and talk about the various you can do, things you can do in the change. No such thing as too much communication. Communicate. When you are doing those changes, every time there is a meeting, you pass on the message. Just a small aspect. Although that was not the subject of the meeting. After 2-3 months, everybody is this thing. When is it happening? Now you come to number 2, delegating. The coalition of like-minded people cannot carry the project. You must divide up the work. Who will do what? And then you start action. It is people of action that change the world. Action requires courage, the willingness to take risks. I've kept talking about that, isn't it? You can't. Every change is a risk you are taking. The readiness to face opposition. Because you know people will oppose you. the readiness to admit mistakes, poor decisions. If you are going to make a mistake and don't admit it, people will leave you on your own, isn't it? But if you accept, I made a mistake, this one, he is human, we will support him. And make good corrections. Number, we are still on implementation. It's perseverance. Do not give up. The process may take 2-3 years. Don't give up along the way. And I think that will be important. And then once perseverance is done, I wanted to highlight this one. Resisting internal possession. Self, you'll be accused of blah blah. You have to deal with yourself. Power, pride, money, sex, lack of trust for some of your followers. All these are things you need to deal with. Like, for example, the person you have who is going to be the project leader is a lady, very beautiful lady, and you are the CEO. So you have to be together very often. Say, no, there's no project here. This was calculated so the wife cannot accuse him. But you know what they're up to. That project will fail, am I right? Yes. So you have to think of all those things. Now, number 8. Once a project has been implemented, you need evaluation. You need to measure progress, make necessary improvement all along the way. And the strategic plan will say, after a year, after 2 years, how will you be assessing and evaluating the process? Cycle time of full change process, too long to wait for evidence, track, and celebrate achievements on intermediate goals. So don't wait for the final look. Please, every year, see what is, or every 3 months, see what is changing, and celebrate. Once you achieve something little, shout about it. We achieved this. Although it's just 10% of the total achievement. Yeah, people can say, oh, it's progressing. If you can make 10%, I can see us going to 90. But if you look down on 10, you say, this thing is too much. I don't think we'll ever be able to achieve it. Now, I want, who has not read, who wants to read the final card? Just stand and read. Who is reading? Yeah, go ahead.
Application. Being a change agent brings about transformation. Good leaders provide the right support for their constituencies throughout the change process. But since change brings increased stress, even when it is positive, leaders must have the foresight and planning abilities to ensure the change is constructive and minimal in human cost. Character and skills are essential to effective change leadership. What are the challenges you face in bringing about change for good in your current situation? Identify an area where you plan to lead change. Develop a plan of action for that change. Identify key people and groups with whom you can collaborate in bringing about these changes.
That's why I'm calling it application. I hope before we finish that you are going to... I train for a group called ILF, and I normally use the same notes. But I'm just hoping before the end of today, you scribble down a personal change you want to undertake, a family change you want to undertake, a neighborhood change or community change, and then organizational change. And maybe for some of you, maybe a national change. Write what you can. Then you can work on it later. But first of all, just think about an area you like to change. Time for questions.
Excuse my ignorance.
Go ahead.
Supposing you followed all the due process, really even beginning from prayer and all that, and you implement whatever needs to be implemented, but for one reason or another, you don't see the change.
The most likely, the reason you're not seeing it, you did not even see it at the vision level. Because it's not at the end you miss it. You miss it along the way. And what did we read here? We said, every time we evaluate and we see a difference, admit the failure and see how you can correct it. So at the end, you have achieved. But in between, there will be many failures. So the answer to your question is, when you discover it, work back to it. How can I correct my trajectory? Because you see, if for example, what the change you wanted to see in her place was to see at a well-run Sunday school. How did it look like? According to her, it is where people are clear about their duties. It's where there is a syllabus. There is something you are trying to achieve. And it's where division of labor. That's her picture of the future. So when she starts implementing, she'll tell very easily, there's a failure.
So
and
like,
work on that particular failure. In the end, she'll achieve everything.
So like in the case my brother shared,
Yeah.
Allow me to use your example. So really he should have stuck his guns there.
No, he started it the wrong way. He is a person from Congo. He has come to Kenya, and he's telling Kenyans what to do.
No, maybe it could be a Congolese.
So can you see at the inspirational level? Do you know what I talked about? So I'm sure out of this class he has learned. Nobody wants to be looked down on. You can't come to a group of women and tell them, by the way, since I know you don't know how to run things, let me teach you as a man. It will be rejected. So that's why this process is so critical. Because if you ask him, you can see the steps he skipped.
So in a way you're saying that when I follow every item in the process, I should get change.
You should get at least 75%
of the change. So there is no room for leaving before the change has been fully implemented.
No, if you do that, you will leave very early. Because problems are so many. If I allow you, because of a problem, to stop, that's why you spend 4 items was not starting the change. It was simply dreaming. That's the time to think about the barriers, what you do about the barriers, think about all the failures, what you do about them before you start. Once you start, you have done so much homework. The room for failure is still there, but there are corrections possible. So you will still achieve it a lot. But if you go to something believing you will not achieve it, and you are sure you will achieve that, you will certainly not achieve it. Because you believe you will not achieve, and there are too many barriers. Yes, you want to say something?
I want to relate.
Yeah.
Like the place I pastor, I've grown there since I was a little girl, like in Sunday school, and over the years, and then I became a pastor.
Now you are the pastor.
Not really the lead pastor, just an associate pastor. And one of the things, my observation, there are elders which I found when I was just a baby.
They are still there.
They are still there. And sometimes implementing some changes, I think she talked about resistance.
Yeah.
The organization which doesn't have probably like the structure you serve as an elder this period of years. And somehow, some elders actually frustrate a lot of pastors, even when they are.
And yet they don't retire. They stay
and
there
they don't
until
retire.
they die.
Yes, they don't retire. So sometimes it reaches that point, you've tried your best, really. You've really tried, you've prayed, you have painted the picture you want, but still there is a lot of politics that actually affect local pastors from implementing some changes. So I feel what he's saying, and so sometimes you just resign to status quo and you're like, I've tried my best, it's not working.
And to me, my suggestion is you give up before starting. Because you knew it will fail. Why is bother starting?
Because you really want to bring that
So
change.
you must tell me, what is it you thought you would do with elders who are older than your mother? If you think there's something you can do, simply don't.
When we are starting, there is okay, like for me, I would say, from when?
Boy, that's a tough one, eh?
You see?
For
Yeah,
example,
but anyway, I was making a joke.
I know, I
The
get
point is, if the 4 are equal, you are looking for a coalition of like-minded people. They are not your age.
Of course, yeah.
Some are those elders. They are elders. So don't talk. Let the elder who is respected by the elders be the one
to talk.
to talk. The reason why your project is failing, how can a child be bring that? Sure, it can't work. So you had not attended this class, so you are forgiven. But now that
Yeah, sure.
now that you have attended the class, can you see the thing that causes to fail? Yeah.
I see.
Maybe a word for and I respect the bishops in here.
Yeah.
Sometimes guys who have founded churches, our churches, many years,
Yeah.
and sometimes people tend to look down on the young people who are coming up and are thinking, these ones, what do they know? And I think some of the people who are leading here and are leading congregation as the senior pastors, I agree with the system and the policies of developing, especially for elders. Because for me, really, it feels like some, not all, but some really try to sabotage and frustrate any effort to bring change in the organization. So maybe
The bishops have listened.
and the elders in here.
Okay.
So 2 quick things. Number one,
Yeah.
I want to say that maybe a follow up to that there are elders who say in Motor Bible School na tumeona na so many others. So it is going to that. And that is how they easily shut it. But now
Or they kill it with the idea that you learn theory in Bible school.
Yeah.
It doesn't work in real life.
settle down and you're going to see that that's what we know.
Yeah.
But now the question that I want to bring about has to do with when you have had, maybe you are coming to such kind of a church that is old and you have several pastors who have been before you, and every pastor is studying the environment, desiring to bring about the change, and somehow these things have not been working. And so you find a shadow when you come to a new place of an attitude that people have that pastors have crazy ideas that do not work. How
Pastors are?
have crazy ideas that will not really take off. How do you, as a new pastor in a new place, get to a place whereby people can trust you and know that you know what you're saying?
The answer lies in the 8 principles. Number 1, now that you know the process, within 2-3 months you not suggest anything. Because some things you might actually change to a worse one. Because the reason you are changing is because they were different from you. But could be it works. Is that possible? Where you see something and you disagree with it. And the reason you disagree is because it's strange to you. That's why you need to stay long enough for you to know, why don't I like this thing? Is that a reasonable thing not to like it? Do I have a biblical basis not to like it? Is it really that bad? So you need to give yourself time as a new pastor that long. Number 2, once you have fully understood where we are, and having from Bible school, you have an idea where we should be, isn't it? And you are still the young man. Now you start with, don't go for the whole total change. Look for a small change. And don't go for the small change because of its high impact, but because of its acceptability. Am I communicating? That this one is not too far away from where they are. They could easily accept it. The moment you come up with the idea and they accept it, and then they can see it works, the next time you bring up an idea, there's this young man, anakichwa, roho anaongeleza na yeye. This young man is hearing from God. Now you have an easier time. Are we together? Now you can ask for something a little bigger. Because they have started, you are creating a track record that allows them. But having said that, sometimes even over time they will still look at you as a young man. And that's why I now told you about using different methodologies in order to bring up idea to people who are going to resist the idea change. So since they will resist, look for other alternatives. Don't even associate yourself with the change. Get the coalition of change and the early change adapters to be the ones to come up with the idea. Even if in the process you know you are the one, and God knows you are the one, so why bother insisting you are the one? Am I communicating? Because from what you have told me, the real reason they are disagreeing with it is because they are looking down on you. Did I understand your issue? So that's the way to manage that. Don't push. I want to show them. When you talk about Bible school, don't. find a way of wisdom. Yes, your last comment?
Allow me to add, for example, there are churches that saw that their young people were moving away
Yeah,
to other churches,
yeah.
especially the mainstream churches. So what they did was to start maybe a youth church and allow some hype if their traditional kind of music was aimed at. And what has happened is that over time, yes, the youth church has attracted many people, but because probably a youth church has a caveat, when you get married or when you need to come back to the main church, now people move away.
Yeah.
So now the youth church is no longer feeding in the main church. And
But there's a
eventually the
stepping
main
stone
church
away.
has it's actually kind of fading away because the clientele is
I get
at
what
a
you're
certain
talking
age. So now, as a new pastor, you see the way to be able to help these youth identify with the church is not to separate them, is to bring them back. Because
That's a change project.
the change project. Because like now, for example, for me, I look at my teenagers, they want to eat away from me. I had to make a serious law that we must all eat together and everyone must eat at the same time, supper time. So now we want to bring back the youth. But now the Wazir see this worked for us and it has worked for us for very long. Now the question has to do with when you are
How do
insisting
you
on that
get them
change.
to buy the new change?
It might
They
cost
change
you a
out,
lot.
now you want to change them back.
Yes. And it might
The answer
cost-
is exactly what I said earlier. Don't let the idea come from you. Are you getting the point? You must identify what's the resistance on. If the resistance is because of your Bible school, if the resistance is because of your age, deal with it. Timothy was told, don't let people look down on your youth. He needed wisdom. He was told to be very careful how you handle elders. Do you remember the Bible? Yeah. And what the elders feel, you really respect them as elders. They might start listening to you. But I agree with you, those changes are real, but I do not want to encourage you to give up without trying. Are we together? Now our time is up, it's tea time. Again, I gave you my number so we can actually discuss after the class. Is that okay? Yes. Yeah, thank you very much. God bless you.
Reflect. Okay.
Last about books. You don't being asked. Nothing to do No, I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, let's clap for him.